this meeting. I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ian Strawford. I'm an NHS GP of over 30 years now as a GP in Glastonbury and Somerset. I've also a private doctor in aesthetic medicine and wellness medicine, and I have a couple of clinics in the southwest of England that thankfully, after this awful lockdown that we've had, are up and running and busier than ever. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about this wellness revolution that I became involved with personally just at the start of lockdown back in April. And it's with a company called Zinzino from Scandinavia. And my story really to get involved with this was that I've had an interest for quite a number of years in wellness medicine and anti-aging medicine. And I've been involved with personally taking nutritional supplements and advocating and advising on nutritional supplements for my patients for quite a number of years. And it really became quite apparent to me over the last few years how science and technology in medicine as a whole has been sort of growing at the fastest rate ever. We have incredible technology at our hands. We've been faced with this global pandemic, and we're rapidly on a race to try and find a vaccine or treatments that can help prevent death and serious illness from the virus. But we have to start questioning why we are not as fit as we have been in the past. We know more about nutrition, we know more about wellness, but these health challenges for us are increasing. And specifically with coronavirus, we certainly in the UK have one of the worst records in the world now for patients dying or being admitted to hospital and going on ventilators, for example, in the whole of Europe, and certainly only Belgium matches us on par. And really we have to question this, because we know that obesity, and I think more specifically inflammation, are at the root of it. And we are probably one of the unhealthiest nations in Europe from that perspective. So why is this happening? So, why do we really need to supplement our diets? Well, this is not a new thing. This has been talked about for many years. And Linus Pauling, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1954 and 62, had done a lot of work around nutritional supplements. And he stated that we can trace every sickness, every disease, and every ailment to a mineral deficiency. That's quite a sweeping statement based on science, what he was evidencing at the time. So why more than ever do we need to think about supplementation? Well, here's why. The modern processed diet, we need to look at what we eat. Okay, modern processed diets where nutrients that were within the soil are depleted now because we've had intensive agriculture without crop rotation and fertilization to the degree we used to have. And literally those essential minerals, those essential nutrients are not there. And therefore they're not in the plants, the crops that we eat. Animal feed, animals, meat, fish, even to an extent, are exposed to toxins, growth hormones. And so we're exposed to these toxins, we're eating depleted, nutrient deficient food, and we're eating a lot of processed food. So when we look at what our bodies need, it's very simple science. We are made up of 100 trillion cells that are continually constantly renewing at all times. And we know that one of the most important parts of our cells are our cell membranes. And our cell membranes require two essential fatty acids to function. One is called omega-6 and the other is called omega-3. Now, you may have heard of these in the past, but certainly I was aware of the importance of omega-3, but perhaps less aware of the role omega-6 plays and the problems that omega-6 can cause. So both of these essential fatty acids are something, when we say essential, it means that we can only obtain them from our diet, because things like other fatty acids, such as saturated fats, we can actually manufacture in our body from other sources of food, such as carbohydrates. But these essential fatty acids, we can't. We have to consume them. And a normal cell membrane needs the right balance of omega-6 and omega-3. And what we know is that omega-6 is inflammatory and omega-3 is the opposite. It's anti-inflammatory. So just like a car, one is the accelerator, the omega-6, and one is the brake, omega-3. Fire and water, same sort of analogies. But we have to have the right amount of balance between the two. And the problem is, if we're out of balance, we create excess inflammation. Now, we need small amounts of inflammation in our body for our body to function properly. So a small amount of inflammation will allow our cells to regenerate. It will allow our immune system to function. And we know that an unhealthy amount of inflammation will do the opposite. So we know that too much omega-6 will cause too much inflammation, and omega-3, if we're lacking that, will not be able to be the brake to that inflammation. We also know that this balance of omega-6 and omega-3 is essential to the functioning of the cell membrane. So we need to have the right balance of them in the cell membrane for the cell membrane to have a fluidity. And this basically means that nutrients can come in to the cell to support the metabolism within the cell and to protect the cell DNA, and equally waste products from metabolism can come out of the cell. And if we have this imbalance, we have an unhealthy cell membrane called and we can measure that, called the fluidity index. So we know then that our cells, if we're out of balance, that we can't get these healthy cells functioning. And we know that if we're out of balance, we have too much omega-6, too little omega-3, then we will have inflammation outside the cells in what is known as the extracellular matrix. Now, this is the connective tissue part of our body that holds everything together. So our bones, our joints, our arteries, everything, our skin has an extracellular matrix. Now, if we're breaking that down very gradually through this excess inflammation, this low-level inflammation, then we are speeding up the aging process and becoming more likely to succumb at an earlier age from what we know as degenerative diseases. So we'll talk about that more in detail as we go through the presentation. So we know from testing that we've done that 95% of us are in danger. And this is because we eat too much omega-6 and we don't have enough omega-3. It's as simple as that. And this is how our diets have changed over the last century. And this is how our diets in the Western world can differ from those in other parts of the world where they have a greater longevity and generally less susceptibility to degenerative diseases and cancers, etc. So omega-6, it is prevalent in a lot of food we eat, certainly in a lot of the vegetable and plant oils and things like palm oil, which is widely in a lot of food now. The omega-6 is highly prevalent. So pretty much a consistent part of our diet. In meat, there is omega-6. Even in good, high-quality meat, there is omega-6. So we have plenty of sources within our diet of omega-6. However, we source very little omega-3 unless we have a diet that is very rich in marine-based seafood, fish, oily fish especially, shellfish, where omega-3 is very prevalent. Now, omega-3 can be prevalent in certain plants and seeds, nuts, avocados, flaxseed, but it is a form of omega-3 that our bodies find very difficult to utilize. So if essentially the omega-3 that we need, DPA, EHA, are the important ones. Now in plant-based oils, this is ALA, and it has to be converted by enzymes in our body to the more utilizable DHEA and DPA and those one, the EPA. Now, we as humans are not very efficient at converting that plant-based omega-3, and it can vary from person to person. So it's very difficult to rely on a plant-based diet to get your omega-3. So that we have to have this balanced diet with as much marine-based omega-3 in it as possible, and a diet low in omega-6, which is difficult to achieve in the modern world. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to mention, and will come up again, is that we need to have something within our diet that are called polyphenols. And these are important phytonutrients, plant-based phytonutrients, that allow our bodies to utilize the omega-3 that we've ingested. Because without these polyphenols, effectively these antioxidants, then the omega-3 that is in our body, that has been consumed through our diet, becomes oxidized itself before we can utilize it and build it into our cell membranes. And that can take up to 48 hours from the time we've eaten that omega-3 through our diet. So we need these polyphenols on board. And I'm afraid even those of us that have a lot of fish and maybe even supplementation with omega-3, if we don't have polyphenols, we're really not utilizing that to its full effect. So polyphenols are an important part of the diet as well. So where do we all stand? Well, really, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg here, because most of the danger is under the water in the analogy of the iceberg. Because when we do testing, what we know is that the majority of us are out of balance, 95% of us, as I've said. So we aim, or we need to have a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 of 3:1. And this has been, this is recognized within the scientific community now. Certainly the World Health Organization, WHO, had stated quite a number of years ago that it should be 4:1 or lower. And we know that on average, and certainly in the UK, and it's pretty much similar in most of the countries in Europe, the average ratio when tested is 15:1. And even those people who are aware of the importance of omega-3 and maybe taking omega-3 supplementation, when we test them, the average is still 7:1. They're still out of balance. And I think the reason for that is because they're relying solely on taking an omega-3 supplement, but not thinking of the polyphenol antioxidant component of their diet for their bodies to utilize that omega-3 supplement they're taking. So just bear with me. Okay, so now we have a test with Zinzino that we can do to evidence to see whether people are in balance or not. And certainly this was one of the first things I did when I was introduced to Zinzino, to see where I stood. And to date, we have produced, well, certainly in May, and we're now into August, we were nearly 500,000 tests undertaken. And I now know that that is probably another tests that have been done since then. And as I said, only 5% of us are in balance in Europe with a test of 3:1. And as I say, 7:1 is the average for those who take a supplement, but most of the people who don't take any supplementation are 15:1 or higher. I've tested over 80 people myself personally since April, and I've only had one person who's been in balance out of that 80, and that was a person who ate 4 or 5 portions of oily fish a day, no animal fat, and a very high plant-based diet otherwise. And everybody else, including myself, were out of balance. And some of people were significantly out of balance. The highest I've had is 28:1, out of balance, which is quite scary really when we think about it, to be that far out of balance. Now, how do we get this test done? We use a laboratory called VITAS, which is an independent laboratory in Scandinavia, in Norway, which has been running for over 25 years. It's a WHO-approved laboratory. They don't only do work for Zinzino on the balance testing, but they do a lot of other blood spot testing. Now, what is a blood spot test? Well, a blood spot test is a finger prick test where dried blood is sent to the laboratory. Now, it is the new way of testing and bringing what we call near patient testing or bedside testing away from clinics or hospitals and bringing testing to a patient's home. And it can be very accurate in terms of the results that you can get from a blood spot test. And it's not only used for what we're using here, but in lots of areas of medicine, we are now doing blood spot testing. The VITAS laboratory now, as I say, having performed over 500,000 tests, specifically on the omega-6-3 balance and the fatty acid profile, we now have one of the biggest database of essential fatty acids and nutrient-based testing. So this database is being used by a lot of the academic bodies in the world now because of the evidence that we have, because of the sheer numbers. Okay, so let's look at what a test result can look like. Now, this is a typical test that we often see. This is a 49-year-old woman who's been taking some supplementation for a number of years. And this is the simple report that we get back. And it's done in a way to make it very user-friendly. We don't need to be a doctor or a scientist really to immediately understand this result, because it comes out in the traffic light system, green, amber, red. And we can see from here that the first line is the protection from all of the 11 fatty acids, the EPA protection, which should be above 90%. So in this particular person, a score of 0, she's really getting no protection from her essential fatty acids. And when we look at the omega-3, the EPA DHA levels, we can again see, that very low levels of omega-3, less than 8%, at 3.2%. But importantly, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which in this case was 11.6 to 1. Hence, she is in the red. She in the danger. She's the beneath the water as the iceberg analogy, and she will be producing inflammation outside of the cells, which will be slowly damaging her body and accelerating the aging process and increasing the risk of degenerative diseases. So when we look specifically at the cell membrane fluidity, now you remember I mentioned about how important the omega-6, omega-3 were for the functioning of a cell membrane, but we need to be in balance. Her fluidity was 13 to 1, where it should be 4 to 1 or less. So this means that her cell membranes are not working or working suboptimally in terms of allowing nutrients to go in, and therefore the metabolism of the cells are being affected. Also, any antioxidants and things like that are struggling to get into the cells, and therefore her DNA is vulnerable to oxidation damage, premature aging, and other disease processes. So when she's been on balance oil for 120 days, I will talk about the balance oil supplement in more detail in a bit, but this is effectively omega-3 plus polyphenol supplement. And 120 days later, we can see things are starting to improve and not completely normalized, but certainly improving. And with an omega-6-3 ratio now down to 4.3 to 1 and a cell membrane fluidity 5.7 to 1. So we know things are improving. And certainly we have evidence that if one continues to take the omega-3 polyphenol supplement that we have, that they will continue to improve and completely, in most cases, completely normalize, i.e. go into the green across the board. So this is our unique combination. As I said, what makes this supplement stand out from the others? Well, as I said, there are many omega-3 supplements out there. I was personally taking one. I thought it was a very good one. It was an expensive one. I was importing it from the USA. And I'd been taking it for a number of years because I was aware of the cardiovascular benefits and the mental health, cognitive benefits of omega-3. And even though I ate fish and I enjoyed fish, I probably didn't have it on enough a regular basis to make a difference. So I was taking a supplement. But what I didn't know was the importance of the polyphenols, the protective element of the combination, this amazing duo. And I had a diet that was quite rich in plant-based nutrients, but clearly not enough because I was out of balance at 6.3 to 1, and even taking a supplement. So for me, the interest was taking this supplement because we have added a high dose of polyphenols to the omega-3 in the balance oil. And these polyphenols are sourced from pre-ripened olives, which is within the plant world, one of the highest sources of polyphenols. And it's added to the bottle, to the oil, so that when I take it, or when we take it, we can be 100% assured that those polyphenols are in our body with the omega-3. And that's the crucial thing. We don't have to rely on our diet. And certainly science has told me the level of polyphenols that we need, I wasn't getting from my diet, and most of us aren't, because we have to eat a lot of plant-based food to get those polyphenols. And those plant-based foods often come with a calorific, a calorie amount that we don't really want to eat that level of calories to get those nutrients without putting weight on, because we're not very active these days. So for me, the ability to limit my diet to what I wanted to eat from a calorific point of view, so I'm not putting weight on, but making sure I'm getting the right amounts of omega-3 and the right amount of polyphenols on a daily basis was crucial. And we get our fish oils from sustainable sources in the North Sea. We have accreditation, proud member of the Friends of the Sea, GMO. We're informed by sport accreditation, so it can be taken by athletes. It's a very well regulated but safe product. That's really interesting now, but for some of us, and not me personally, but some people are vegan, and the thought of taking even a fish oil is something that they're not prepared to do. And they've perhaps relied on sourcing their omega-3 from plant-based foods, and maybe even taking flaxseed supplements and things like that. But as I've said, that has a very low utilization by our body, because we can't enzymatically very efficiently convert that to the DHEA EPA that we need. And so we have one of the first in the world to produce a marine-based vegan omega-3, and that is coming from the algae that comes all the way up the food chain into fish, and we are now sourcing the omega-3 directly from the marine-based algae. So we can actually be assured that certainly in our vegan balance oil, we are getting not ALA that needs to be enzymatically converted, but DHEA and EPA, as well as the polyphenol. So that's pretty unique. So we have all bases covered here. Okay, so what are the benefits of, as I said, we've talked about at a cellular level how important omega-3 is, but we've known for a very long time around how DHEA and EPA can have a beneficial effect on normal brain function. And certainly in the developing brain, it's absolutely crucial. So we're talking about children, adolescents, even the unborn child. The omega-3 is absolutely crucial. And even to the point in an unborn child, the mother will be drained of her dietary omega-3 in preference for it to go to her fetus, her unborn fetus. And that's one of the reasons why women can suffer and get symptoms related to cognitive effects during pregnancy, such as the sort of mood swings and memory loss and cognitive loss through pregnancy. And this is due to a lack of omega-3 for them. I've known personally about the protective elements of omega-3 for heart function, the cardiovascular system as a whole, and helping with blood pressure, we're increasingly aware of the importance for normal immune function, and that is absolutely critical as we've become much more aware of wanting to have optimum immune functioning, especially during this pandemic. But we know that omega-3, and certainly these are just 18 health claims made by the European Food Standards Association, but there are many within the literature, the scientific body of literature, around the benefits of omega-3. Everything from normal vision, normal muscle function, bone structure, oxidative stress. Now, it makes sense, if we, as I said, if we know that we need omega-3 for an optimum cell membrane function and cellular metabolism, but also to reduce inflammation outside of the cells, which, as I said, damages the extracellular matrix. So it's not surprising with that chronic inflammation due to the lack of omega-3 that we can start to develop arthritic problems with our bones, osteoarthritis at an early age, perhaps osteoporosis. We know that, as I say, on the cardiovascular system, it will cause damage to the endothelial cell lining of our arteries, which then causes hardening of the arteries, atherosclerosis to develop, which can lead on to obviously high blood pressure amongst one, and strokes and heart disease, dementia down the line. So these are all really important, and as I said, we've talked about the importance, the absolute critical importance for the development of the child's brain. And there are some good, excellent literature and scientific evidence as well now of the role that omega-3 plays and in the way that it can help therapeutically in children with autism and ADHD and those sort of things. And certainly it's something I consider now for when I'm dealing with those sort of children and families, before we consider the more stimulant amphetamine-based drugs that seem to be given out widely to children with ADHD now. Okay, so how do we do this? How do I find out? Well, I found out, as I said, very early on, and this was the thing that led me to get involved with Zinzino, not only because the science around the products, and I'm going to talk more about the other products, but around this evidence-based nutritional testing. So this is not guess-based supplementation anymore. This is test-based nutrition and supplementation. So how do you do a test? I say it's a simple blood spot test, and this can be done. In my case, it can be done in my clinic, or more often than not, it's sent to you to be done in your home. And it's very simple. We send a little video out to show you how to do it, but it's effectively a finger prick test with drops of blood onto a card that's left to dry. It's then posted to the laboratory and then analyzed, and you get your result back after about 10 to 14 days, sometimes a bit longer through lockdown. And we get you started on a balance oil. And when your test comes back, then we evaluate obviously the ongoing need for the balance oil, but as I say, 95% of us are out of balance, and therefore there is definitely a need. And we can then evidence by retesting 4 months later to show you how the supplement, the balance oil supplement, will be getting you back into balance, and how your cell membranes will be improving and functioning at a better level. And the company is so confident about this product that we give you a money back guarantee. So that, if somebody subscribes and on an offer to get the test, then if they turn out to be in balance, they clearly don't need the product, they can get a refund back on that. So let's look specifically at, as I said, about balance oil itself. This is the unique product as far as I'm concerned, because it contains the very high levels of omega-3, the EPA, DHEA, alongside organic polyphenols from organic olive oil. And it's this combination that is so important to stop the omega-3 being oxidized and therefore being utilized by our body. Okay, so now you can see there are lots of little bowls. The bottom ones are the fish oil polyphenol supplement that is flavored with either lemon or orange or vanilla, and it makes it a very palatable oil to take. Usually one takes between, on average, about 10 mils a day of the balance oil. And certainly for most of us, it's really very simple to take. It's not unpleasant, and certainly because there's no oxidation of the omega-3, there's no rancid or fishy burps or flavor after you've taken it. As I say, we have the vegan balance oil, which is from marine-based algae. And we have something else that's very interesting, which is called the Balance Oil Aqua X. Now, this is a product that has been formulated. It's the same marine-based omega-3, but it's been made in a way that it disperses. It creates an emulsion in water, and to create a completely oil-free, tasteless drink. And that I have used that very effectively in those that really just can't stomach taking an oil, and specifically children where that may be the case. It can be mixed with water and given as a drink, or mixed with a fruit juice, etc., to allow young children to take the balance oil. So we also have some other exciting nutritional supplements as well in the range, and Extend is a fantastic product, really, because this is a really advanced immune and nutritional support that complements the other parts of the health protocol, the balance oil. And it contains 23 essential vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, phytonutrients, and purified beta 1 to 3 and 1 to 6 beta glucans. Now, we've developed, or this has been developed, I mean, there are many vitamin mineral system supplements out there, but I think Extend for me was one of the most effective in that it covered everything. And I personally was often taking 4 or 5 or 6 different supplements to get the levels of the different things that I wanted or felt that I needed. The sciences here has taken that sort of dilemma away from us, because we've put it all into one tablet. But more importantly, it contains things that other supplements don't, such as the 1 to 3, 1 to 6 beta glucans. These are essential as for the building of the neutrophils, macrophages, and the cells of our innate immune system. And the innate immune system are these cells that are the first line of defense in our immune system. And without them, or with low levels, then we really are going to succumb to the simple infections like coronavirus and bacteria and whatever entering our body. And so having a healthy innate immune system is crucial as our first line of defense. And these phytonutrients and the 1 to 3 and 1 to 6 beta glucans are often missing from our diet. So we're not feeding the cells of our immune system effectively. Equally, we need to have things such as iron and cyanogens, which are important trace elements that are needed for certain enzymes that allow our immune system to work effectively. And again, these are often missing from our diet, and hence our immune systems are compromised, and we're more at risk. And certainly in this current COVID pandemic, I suspect a lot of those unfortunate people that have really succumbed seriously to this virus have been missing these elements and missing these nutritional elements that allow the immune system to work effectively. So with Extend Plus, we've done all the thinking, we've done all the science, and we've put it all into that. So again, when we're taking this product on a daily basis, we really can feel confident that we're getting all we need in our diet. Xenobiotic, another game changer for me. Now, many of you have heard about increasingly about the gut microbiome, and this is effectively, for those that are non-science, but this is the bacteria that live in our gut that are there essentially for our digestion, for healthy digestion, but equally we know that the gut has a huge role, and the gut-brain connection is massive. We produce most of the serotonin in our gut that goes into our brain that actually then controls our mood. And so having a healthy gut is essential to not only our physical health, metabolism, absorption of food, but also our mental well-being. And really, these bacteria that live in our gut are, again, need to be in balance. Now, there are many, many thousands of the different types of bacteria in our gut, but essentially we have anaerobic and aerobic bacteria. That basically means, can they survive without oxygen or with oxygen? And the aerobic ones are the healthy bacteria that produce healthy chemicals to help digestion and support the health of the gut. And the anaerobic bacteria are really not very healthy at all, and they produce a lot of toxic chemicals in the metabolism of the food they eat, which can then not only damage the gut, but can actually cause a lot of inflammation in the gut that can lead to a lot of bowel-related and digestive symptoms. And I think we see this more and more with patients with irritable bowel syndrome, with chronic inflammatory bowel disease such as Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, which is hugely increased over the years as far from what I've observed, and food intolerances, which I think have not necessarily become fashionable, but have become real because of our unhealthy gut microbiome. So how do we maintain a healthy gut microbiome? Well, we have to feed the bacteria. They live off what we eat, okay? And we need a very high fiber diet for the good bacteria to survive. The bad bacteria can survive off junk food and carbohydrate and other fats and protein, but not the good bacteria where they need specifically certain dietary fibers. Now, those fibers may not be in a completely fiber-based diet. So we may think we're having a very high fiber-based diet, but not having the type of fibers in that diet that feed these bacteria. So what we've done with Xenobiotic is actually created a product that contains 5 of the natural dietary fibers that those bacteria can metabolize in the colon and allow a recolonization, as we call it, of the healthy bacteria, which will then displace the unhealthy anaerobic bacteria that may be living in our gut. And I think this is the optimum way to do it. And personally, in the past, I've taken live bacteria, the healthy bacteria, in significant numbers. But I don't think they survive very long because we're out of balance in the gut. And therefore, it's a bit like putting goldfish into a toxic pond. They may be healthy when they go in, but they don't stay healthy for very long. So we have to create that natural balance in the gut. And Xenobiotic is something that I've seen huge changes in patients and customers that I've had on Xenobiotic within a space of days often, because those bacteria will recolonize back very quickly when you're on a fiber-based product such as this. And so I think this combination of treating the gut microbiome and getting that into balance, to reducing inflammation with the balanced soil, to getting improved cell membrane function with the balanced soil, which then allows a product such as Extend with all of the nutrients to get into our cells more effectively because we've improved the cell membrane function. And it's this combination, we call it the health protocol, that gives optimum nutrition, gives us the best chance of optimum health, and the best chance of reducing or slowing down the aging process. I'd like to talk about another product, which again, I'm very, very excited about, and this is probably a product that's helped me personally more alongside the others. But Viva is a combination of Afron, which comes from saffron, okay, high potency saffron, as well as B vitamins and vitamin C. Now, the unique part of Viva is this saffron-based product. Now, saffron is a naturally occurring plant-based, comes from the stigmas from a crocus plant, and I previously associated it with Asian food as a food coloring, and I knew it was very expensive. Apparently more expensive weight per weight than gold, and highly prized in many countries and many cultures. But saffron has a very potent effect on our central nervous system in the brain, directly stimulating a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And we know that when we stimulate the hypothalamus, we improve something called mental resilience. Now, when you look at a lot of the literature, we talk a lot about mental resilience as a way to protect us against stress, against anxiety, against depression. So when our mental resilience fails, we start to get imbalances in the neurochemistry in our brain, which can then lead to symptoms of anxiety, depression, psychosis, everything else. So if we can stop that from happening by improving mental resilience, then we can protect ourselves from those mental health issues. Now, all of us, and I'm sure most of us, a lot of us, certainly myself, have suffered from stress-related illness over the years, just because of the lifestyles we lead. And certainly as a professional doctor, I think many of us suffer with stress-related illness, which is often just fatigue or mood swings or tiredness, poor sleep. And for some, it can degenerate and become a mental illness with what's seen as a breakdown, anxiety, depression, etc. And this is a way of preventing that by stimulating that part of the brain to give us better mental resilience. And certainly many people that I've used Viva with, and this has been that type of person who's found it difficult to sleep, gets easily stressed, maybe suffers with some minor anxiety symptoms. Very quickly, in actually within a matter of hours, they can feel the effects of Viva from saffron. It's that quick acting. And it's very free of side effects. It's not habit forming. And so for me, it's a very much an alternative to conventional antidepressants, for example, which we know can significantly cause side effects for a lot of people, which can cause dependency and intolerance, and people find it very difficult to get off. And Viva is a real alternative, and certainly for patients who want just to help generally with the stress and strains of life and sleep better, I think there's nothing else out that can match that. And certainly for patients that I have who have struggled to get off antidepressants or find that they really are stuck on them, I found that they've found it much easier to stop their conventional medication once they've been on Viva for a while, as well as being rebalanced with the omega-3, which, as I said, is really important in the brain. So this is a very exciting product. Protect is another product which is specifically, it's a vegan form of high potency vitamin D3. We know vitamin D is essential for the immune system, and that's been one of the things that around the Black and North American ethnic people actually having a worse outcome from coronavirus. And I think it's not only because they may have levels of inflammation in their body from their dietary deficiencies, omega-3 deficiencies, etc., beta-glucans, cyanogens, those sort of vitamin deficiencies and mineral deficiencies as well. But vitamin D3, a darker skin in the Northern Hemisphere is going to struggle to make as much vitamin D3 as a paler skin. And so at the end of the winter, when the pandemic struck, I think the population as a whole had very low levels of vitamin D3, and certainly the Black and ethnic population, dark skins, this was even more of an issue for them. And I think that's why we've had this disproportionate, one of the reasons for the disproportionate death rate from coronavirus. Okay, we also have, we talked about how with an imbalance and through the aging process, we can slowly damage the extracellular matrix. And this is the bit that holds all the skin together. As I said, the microfibers that support the skin allow the fibroblasts and the collagen producing cells And without those, the skin will age more rapidly. And this is a serum, a skin serum, very effective skin serum that contains the 1,3,1,6 beta glucans, again, to improve the immune system of the skin, copper, calendula, as well as hyaluronic acid to hydrate the skin. So this is an all-round product that can really help improve the aging skin by slowing down the degenerative aging process. There are also within the health, within Zinzino, we have the ability to have some products for weight management, either for those that are wanting to build muscle through exercise in the gym, or whether they're wanting to lose weight in an effective way. And certainly I've found the lean shakes as a really popular method, because we, as I've said, we know that we put on weight because we have too many calories. Simple. We don't exercise enough to utilize those calories, so we convert those calories into saturated fat and store it in our bodies. So if we want to lose weight, we have to reduce the calories. But here comes the problem. If we reduce calories, we're reducing the nutritional element to we're reducing the ability or the amount of those good nutritional bits that we need. So I think if you're on the health protocol, you can be assured you're getting all of the nutrition you need alongside your food. Then you can replace certain meals with something like a lean shake, which is a protein-based shake, and it also contains some xenobiotic to help the gut fibers, the gut microbiome, and very healthily lose weight when you're on the health protocol and you're utilizing something like the lean shakes. Okay, and as that, I'm mentioning the health protocol quite a lot because I think this is the optimum nutrition, this three-step nutrition program that we have. Step one, as I said, creating this healthy balance between the omega-6 and 3 with the balance oil, with the polyphenols to prevent the oxidation of the balance oil and to utilize the omega-3 and the polyphenols to protect our cells. We want to restore the gut microbiome and get the healthy bacteria back. And we want to boost the immune system and boost the body's metabolism and cellular metabolism by extend product. And that, for me, is optimum nutrition, made very, very simple and very, very user-friendly for everyone. And it's really relatively inexpensive, I think, for this level of science-based, test-based nutrition. So, for example, the balance oil kit with test, which is where you get tested to see whether you're going to need the product. You then go on to the balance oil product and you get retested 4 months later. Zinzino is offering this at a really competitive price because that's £132, and that's, I know that finger prick testing, blood spot testing, for whatever we do, whether it's testing for blood sugar levels or vitamin B12 levels, doesn't really matter. It's usually in excess of £100 a test when you're sending it to the laboratory per test. So this is a fantastic offer, and really, ongoing, it's £27 a month to remain on balance oil. Now, for me, I was spending often £60, £70 on nutritional supplements per month without really knowing whether I was taking something that was going to be helping me, or whether there was no test, whether it was the right product, whether it had the right constituents in it, etc. And to go on the health protocol, to have the complete nutrition and the gut microbiome rebalanced, as well as the omega-6, 3 rebalancing, is again £210 to get going with the testing, and then £66 a month. So we need to prioritize our health. It should be part of our weekly, monthly spend within our families. We need to actually prioritize what we're spending, what we're consuming food-wise, how we utilize. But I certainly, in my eyes, and certainly a lot of my patients and customers, is that they do prioritize this within their weekly or monthly budgeting, because they value their health and they want to stay optimal. They want to reduce their risk of succumbing to degenerative diseases, or improving their immune system, and slowing down the aging process. And I think it's essential, really, for us to really more than ever take on our health and nutrition, and take this really seriously. And we have a fantastic, as I said, one of the things that really drove me to being involved with Zinzino, not only was the products and the testing and the evidence-based testing, but the scientific backing behind the company. Dr. Paul Clayton, who I've spoken with many times, is really much one of the pioneers of the balance oil, one of the first people to really point out the role of polyphenol antioxidants and the importance of those in combination with omega-3 for them to be effective. I really like Angela Rizzo, who's done a huge amount of work. She's based in professor in biochemistry in Milan. Lots of publications around nutrition, and specifically the importance of omega-3 in the developing child brain, and studies that show how that can help children with autism and autism spectrum disorder type conditions. So really exciting to be involved with this company. And on a sort of customer note, so to speak, Zinzino themselves make it very user-friendly for customers coming on board, certainly with the balance oil and the health protocol. We have an app that patients can access, an app from their app store, which can tell them, or they can set a time each day of when to take their health protocol products, and it will remind them. And if they tap to say they've taken it, then if they've done that for a number of times, they will eventually get their product shipped for free, which is a fantastic offer, really, to help the customer, to motivate people. And they can improve that more by logging it to one of the sort of wristwatch or the step monitors that monitor the number of steps they do. They can get that free delivery quicker that way. But equally, we know that with Zinzino, certainly on the balance oil and the health protocol, people will feel better. Not only will they see the results improving on testing, but they will often feel better in a lot of ways, whether it's symptoms that are associated with the inflammation, such as their blood pressure going down, or less aching from joints, or better mental clarity, or sleeping better cognitive function. In most experiences that I've come across, people will feel better, and they will want to tell people about this and the products and how and why they're feeling better. And the company, again, would love people to make referrals. And so they offer what's called Z for free, whereas if you refer people to come and get tested and go on the products, then you can then start to get your subscription for the supplements for free. So very generous, and something that quite a lot of my customers are working towards. So my own personal story, as I said, I got involved. It runs alongside my medical practice. I have a lot of my patients who are very, very interested in the health protocol, supplementation, certainly in anti-aging clinics that I have. It's now become a mainstay product that we talk about. But personally, I've tested all of my family, my children, and really surprisingly, my young adult children were all seriously out of balance, with levels of up to 24:1 in one of my daughters, who had suffered for many years with acne. And I'd strived for years as a cosmetic doctor trying to battle against her acne, and actually going on the health protocol with the gut microbiome, xenobiotic and the balance oil, and her acne has completely disappeared within 6 weeks. And that was just one observation I made. My personal story, I went on balance oil and the health protocol, and my blood pressure is normalized, which I was at the point at the age of 58 of about to consider going on anti-hypertensive medication. I get less aching in my joints. I used to get a lot of aching in my hand joints, which was a worry as a cosmetic doctor. cosmetic surgeon that was going to prove from, I now get no aching at all. So these are my little stories. Everybody, certainly many of my customers, many of my patients all have lots of stories to tell about how this health protocol and these products have helped them. So I hope that's been helpful. For those that have been brought to the meeting tonight by colleagues or by other people who've been taking the products or been involved with Zinzino, then I thank you for all coming on board. And if you'd like any more information, then please contact the person that, that brought you to the meeting tonight. And hopefully I look forward to talking to some of you or meeting some of you down the line. So I'll thank you very much, and I'll say good night.